Hello, and welcome to TerraLex's Insights Podcast, where our goal is to present multicultural perspectives by leading professionals. These perspectives on contemporary issues help lawyers and business people work better together. I'm your host, Terri Pepper, and I'm TerraLex's CEO. Today, I have the pleasure of talking to Samantha Norris. May I call you Sam?
Yes, thank you.
I saw that in your bio, so I figured it was.
Yep.
Sam is a member at BrownWinick, which is TerraLex's member firm in Iowa in the United States. And she was recently honored as being one of our elite group of trailblazers during International Women's Month a couple of months ago. We like to highlight our trailblazers on our podcast so others can see what a dynamic group of women we have within the TerraLex ranks. And so by way of introduction, let me cite some of the reasons that Samantha was identified as a trailblazer by the people who nominated her. She is described as a true trailblazer whose impact extends well beyond the traditional practice of law through her leadership, mentorship, and commitment to breaking down barriers for others. Through her active involvement in organizations such as Women Lead Change and Corridor Women Connect, she consistently champions the advancement of women in leadership and creates pathways for professional growth and to amplify voices that are often underrepresented. Her engagement with these organizations reflects a deep commitment to fostering inclusive professional communities and empowering the next generation of leaders. Also, Sam assists and mentors students through her work at the University of Iowa MBA program and the UI Marketing Institute, and also through groups like Women in Business. And we know that also she serves as a mentor and role model within her own firm at BrownWinick. So welcome to the podcast, Sam.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. So let's talk a little bit about this whole role of being a leader and a mentor and breaking down barriers for others. Talk a little bit about some of the organizations you've been involved in and some of the work that you've done with some of those groups.
Sure. I think I first got most actively involved when I relocated from Chicago, where I started practicing law, back to Eastern Iowa. One of the first things I did was get involved in a group that was focused on how we can make sure that new people coming in know what resources are out there, whether it's according to their heritage, their affinity group, or just what activities are going on. We started a group. I was able to join it. It's evolved into other groups over the intervening 20 years now. But that was kind of my first taste at being on a board and community involvement in that. And it really motivated me to keep going. Since then, I've really kind of focused on some legal, some non-legal, and then some community-based groups, and that has evolved over time. Worked in legal, worked on legal boards and bar associations and things like that, including groups promoting mediation services, both in court and beyond, and training some of those folks and training interested people on how they can use mediation either formally or informally in times of conflict or to resolve differences. Other things we've done, I've worked on, you mentioned a few, the Women that Connect, Women Lead Change, and Corridor Women Connect. That's really a dynamic organization that started here in Eastern Iowa, I want to say around 20 years ago. And when I was in-house, that organization, that company was one of the first real, I think, promoters of that group, and just to see how far it has come and the way it has evolved from more Eastern Iowa focused to the whole state and beyond, to really help support leaders at every level and in all ways. So from emerging young leaders to experienced C-suite leaders, they really put on programming and have different groups that support you throughout your whole career journey. And it's been a privilege to kind of see how they've evolved over time. Other things that I've been involved in, of course, school district type things, due to having kids in the school district, and evolving now to support organizations that help local people age in place and services for seniors, affordable housing, things like that. And then something that is probably the most near and dear to my heart is mentoring students and speaking to students either at the University of Iowa Law School here where I live in Iowa City, or the University of Iowa Business School. I was a board member on their Marketing Institute. I do support the MBA students and women in business. Those are all undergrads and graduate students, as well as talking to incoming or current students. I just had one incoming first-year law student at the UI Law School reach out and say, "Hey, I'm interested in energy law. Would you be
Oh,
willing to
it's
talk to
rare.
me?"
Yeah.
Of course, I'd be willing to talk to you.
Sure.
Now, sometimes you might think, "Oh, that's going to help with recruiting," but also what I really want to do is always pay it forward. If there was something I was interested in, I remember being younger and being terrified. These people never want to talk to me. They're too busy, they're too important, and I'm just a nobody student who doesn't know anything about anything. And I just want to make sure that if I can help people not feel that way. If they want to reach out and they want to talk and they've gotten the courage up to even ask, I want to make the time and talk to them and try to support them on their journey.
So within BrownWinick, I'm sure there's parallel programs as well. Maybe share a little bit about some of the work and mentoring that you've done within the firm.
Yeah, we do have some formal programs, of course, mentorship. We have women's group, things like that. And we also do some informal things, of course, as well. One of the things I like about the firm is that we do have that mix of formal and informal opportunities to support each other, to promote each other, and to really just help better each other. Um, as part of the formal mentoring, I do always sign up for that for both summer associates and then younger associates. But a lot of us do this well at the firm here. I try to do as well, but really finding the time to mentor kind of in those smaller moments and do it informally.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to be someone in my group. It doesn't even have to be a lawyer. But just and I don't know if it's official mentoring, but trying to uh, get to know the people in the firm, get to know where they want to be career-wise, who they are personally, what motivates them, and finding ways to help support them, let them know um, that they're doing a good job or what they're doing, and then making sure that others know that those
Right.
people are doing a good job and they are adding value to the firm. I think that's little things like that, answering questions when I can, making sure people know that I will make time if they have questions or need anything. It's something I think that is really important. And when I think back to when I was just starting out, when I had attorneys, and I don't know that I would call them official mentors, but professors, attorneys at my firm are the like that would always take the time to answer whatever question I had, even if it wasn't about the law or my career, especially. Those were the most meaningful to me. So I always try to be that for others.
Which is great. And I bet you that has a huge impact because you weren't assigned to be a mentor
Yeah.
to some of those folks. And so they know that you're doing it because you're sincere and have a real interest in their success. I think those kind of things can make or break a person's future if they've been, if they felt like they've had someone championing them. It helps to overcome some of that early days insecurity and uncertainty that people have when they're starting their careers. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can.
When you're new, especially I think as an attorney, you graduate law school and you're bright-eyed, and then you also think everyone thinks that I have to know everything about the law. And I feel that pressure and
Yeah.
just trying to reassure people, hey, you don't need to run anything. You don't, we're all here learning. I'm learning every day still. That's one of the things I like about the practice of energy law. It's always changing and always evolving. Like I'm always learning. And making sure that they know that I can learn from them too. We can all learn from each other and just, I think that's a really important philosophy. And I try to embody that when I can. And also just make sure that, hey, if you're on our team or on our firm or whoever you are, like I value you, I value your perspective, and I want to help you if I can.
Yeah, an interesting question. So do you all have summer associates this year?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. And are they scared about what their future is going to look like because of AI and the way that law firms are changing? Are you hearing any of that?
Um, I think there's a curiosity more than a fear of what it's going to look like. I think that our firm has actually been very proactive in addressing it. What internal tools can we use? Can we develop? that's, proprietary to our firm to help us, but that also, we are very clear as to how you can use it responsibly, how you can't use it
Mhm.
responsibly, how you shouldn't use it, and really making sure that, they understand, I think, from I guess the more experienced among us, our perspective and the firm's perspective, hey, we still have value to add here. Some of that judgment, that creativity that we try to deliver for our clients, and um, the practical approach that um, I try to have, and I think a lot of folks in our firm try to have as well. You can't replicate that through AI. And so when we work with summer associates and we're giving them the actual work and they're in the actual meetings with us and they see how we give that guidance, I think they can see, oh, okay, this isn't just somebody looked up some cases on Westlaw or they ran a contract through. Like there's a lot of judgment calls
Yeah.
and things like that that I think they can't replicate. And we try to really show them that that's how we approach solving problems for our clients.
That's great. I think role modeling is super important. I always think back to one of my former partners when I was in a consulting firm who used to be at a big firm in the UK. And and I remember how at first, when she first told me this, I thought it was so weird because it's so different than what we do here in the US. But they had the partner desk. So literally, if you were assigned to a partner, you sat on the other side of the desk from them all day, every day, and just heard everything they did, saw everything they did. And yeah, and but I think about it now, and that way of role modeling is a pretty interesting sort of training
Like a true
model.
apprenticeship.
Yeah, true mentorship, exactly. Now you mentioned the energy practice that you have, and I know you co-chair that practice group, I believe, within your firm.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit about that. What are some of the latest issues facing clients in that space? It's really a time of change, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's very dynamic. It's always changing, but especially over the past, I would say, couple years, it's been increasingly dynamic, and we don't see that slowing down, which is both exciting and a challenge too. I think it's in it's been in a lot of headlines, the increase in the need for energy infrastructure, both generating and then transmitting the power. You're seeing it everywhere. Demand is just growing exponentially, and so how we meet that need is a big question. And one of the things I like, I was an economics major, and there's a lot of kind of economic theory and policy that underpin the energy and utility space. So I like that we've got some of these baseline principles that have been around since the industry has been around.
Yeah.
Um, and then applying those and seeing how those can maybe evolve in the face of the changes going on in the industry. So it's complicated. It's multi-layered. You've got
Yeah.
federal, regional, state, local um, impacts, right? You've got environmental and all of that, but then the industry is always evolving due to changes in technology, changes in customer needs, customer usage, and patterns, and really just trying to kind of mix that old and those like that underpinning theory with the constant evolution of needs and technology and how we get those to meet to best serve our clients' needs. So I find it fascinating.
Mhm.
Um, it is complicated. There are times at the end of the day, I literally come home and say, my brain hurts. Like there's a lot.
Well,
I'm trying to noodle through this problem and how do
yeah.
we get there for our clients? And I think back to the earlier question, using some of your experience and keeping an open mind, especially, when you've got maybe a diverse background, either in the law or other jobs or professions, and your team has that too. Let's put our heads together. How can we get there? That's something that AI can't replicate, right?
Yeah,
So let's be
exactly.
creative, um, understand our clients' risk tolerance, and see how we can help get them to where they want to get to.
Excellent. And that would be great advice for young people coming up in the profession too. Understand your client's risk tolerance and need and point of view and all that. Yeah, I always find it amazing that when someone comes out of law school and goes into a private law firm, that all of a sudden the things they're supposed to know, like just what does a law firm do? How does a law firm run? I think there's a real opportunity for more education in that arena as well.
Yeah, the business of law, especially at a firm, is something that a lot of people I think don't know. Obviously, if you're going to be a solo practitioner, that's completely different. But that is one thing, actually. I took a class in my third year of law school. They had I forget what it was called, but it was effectively the practice of law. And they would have
Oh,
law
amazing.
firm leaders come in every week and kind of talk nuts and bolts and things like that. And our firm does that with associates as they get closer to partnership, like, okay, here's how this works and the financials, and here's how write-offs work or your realization rate, things like that. And I think when you're in law school, a lot of it is, well, I can do a good job. I can analyze a case. I can write a really
Yeah.
good brief. What else do I need to know?
Right.
There's a lot more to it than that.
I'm sure
And
you having an economics background helped a lot when you were first coming up the ranks.
it helped some. Yeah. And I think, I was fortunate to have some very early and ongoing exposure to business and being in the business world and um, interning at businesses and working in their groups. And so, and my parents, when they worked with they would talk to me sometimes about how this worked or how that worked. And so I had a decent idea with that. But, law firms are a unique type of business.
Yes.
And so it's not always intuitive, I think.
Exactly. So tell us a little bit, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit personally, what do you like to do when you're not doing the work?
Sure. I really do like to spend time with my family. I've got 3 children. 2 of the 3 are, well, I guess one just graduated college. One's in college, and one's in
Old
high
enough to
school.
have college age children.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, and so, with 2 of the 3 out of the house, my oldest is actually back for a few days now, and just that time. I remember my parents always saying, "Oh, it's important. It's amazing to us when our kids are back home."
Yeah.
Um, I was like, "Oh yeah, right, sure." No, it's really something you really value that time when the 5 of us can be together. Um, so spending any time with my kids I can. It's just so neat to watch them become who they are, achieve their goals, grow into adults. Like it's just the
Yeah.
best thing. So time with family, I think above all else, and extended family as well. I love live music. Anytime I can go catch a show, I want to do it. I think there's nothing like the energy at a live show. I love sporting events too. Pretty much any type of sporting event,
That's good.
but particularly the Iowa Hawkeyes. Love going to sporting events, and then otherwise, I just really like to travel, explore new locations, learn about their history and culture, and just try to expand my worldview and experience.
Excellent. Well, what a well-rounded person. And I can clearly see why you were nominated as a trailblazer. I'm sure your firm is very happy to have you on board. And I know TerraLex is happy to have you among the ranks of our members as well. So we thank you so much for joining us today on the TerraLex Insights podcast. And we'll continue to watch your trajectory as mentor and guide, and maybe we'll tap into that a little bit.
Sounds great. Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.